The date was worth more than everything he'd ever carried out of a gate, and it was just sitting there on a cracked phone screen, going unspent. October 6th, 6:12 a.m. 31 days, 19 hours, and change until the sky over Gwanak-gu tore open on a Thursday, and the word before stopped applying to anything. Daniel lay still and ran the protocol. You woke up in strange conditions often enough. You built one. Ceiling, water stains shaped like jeju, familiar. Walls, gaoshiwan thin, a cough away on the left, a phone alarm 2 rooms down, playing a song he hadn't heard in 200 years. Body, wrong. He cataloged the wrongness with his eyes shut. No spear calluses, no graft scar down the right forearm. Lungs that took air like the air was free. A 26-year-old's back, which didn't hurt, which was how he knew something enormous had happened, because his back had hurt since the reign of 2 American presidents nobody here had voted for yet. He sat up, took the room's 1 glass, filled it from the tap, and drank. Soul water, city clean with a mineral edge gone. He cut the pad of his thumb on the desk knife, shallow, and watched the line bead red. It stung the way pain stings when it's the only thing wrong with you. Real then. Or a simulation with a budget line for tap water and paper cuts, and he'd met simulations. Floor 9 built you one every cohort. And they always got some cost wrong, always comped you something. This wasn't comping him anything. His neighbor coughed again. Downstairs, a delivery motorcycle took the corner, too fast on a wet street, and the whole ordinary planet went on being ordinary in every direction at full resolution. He looked at the date again and did what he did with everything. He priced it. 1 month of foreknowledge, at the far end of which the market for everything human beings valued would reprice overnight. He knew where 11 gates opened in the first week to the block. He knew which of them ripened fast and which sat dim for a month while the licensing offices fought over them. He knew what a breath of essence traded for in year 2, and that in month 1, people would hand you a jarful for a working generator. He knew the tower's doors opened at day 100, that the first cohort's names would be read, on broadcast like a graduating class, and that of the 206 of them, the number still alive at year 5 would fit in a taxi. He knew who signed things eventually. There'd been a version of this moment, he supposed, where a man wept or prayed or ran into the street to warn a world with 31 days left on its old life. He inspected himself for the impulse the way he'd inspected the coin on the threshing floor, without much hope for the currency. The world was a line of 41 people moving 6 steps at a time, and it had been moving that way since before this morning's version of it was born, and nothing he shouted in the street in Sillimdong would put 1 centimeter between anybody and the doors. That math had closed a long time ago. He checked the work until the checking was the only prayer he had left. So no rescue. He had 31 days of positional advantage and a young body. Sitting on the rented bed with blood drying on his thumb, he was already choosing what to take first. He washed the cut and then, because doctrine ran deeper than any calendar, he took inventory of the other asset first, the body. It failed almost every test he had. 11 pull-ups on the doorframe's lip before the grip quit. The grip, not the back. 6 flights of the Goshiwan stairs at a soldier's pace put a burn in his lungs by 4. His hands were the worst insult. The spear callus was gone from the web of his right thumb. 40 years of grip and release had left no mark at all. In the communal bathroom, he worked through joint articulation, balanced transitions, and the 8-count fall drill. The room was too small, and the body was eager and wrong, and half a beat late. During the 3rd form, he caught himself checking the room in the mirror before looking at his own face. Mirrors had been ambush tools for too many years. He kept the habit. 200 years of technique had returned in a nervous system mounted on tendons that couldn't execute it. Repetitions, load, and time would close the gap. Until then, Every plan had to account for a man who knew 40 ways to kill a door knocker and couldn't perform one at speed. He toweled off. The face in the mirror was younger than any he'd worn since the first coalition. He dressed and inventoried the room, rent paid through November, one funeral suit worn twice, his grandmother's photo on the desk, the good one from Suwon before the hospital. He stood in front of it with his hands at his sides. She died in the spring, in the first timeline, and presumably this one. She died believing the world was permanent and her American grandson needed feeding. Of everyone he'd buried, she was the only one he never counted among the war's dead. She'd missed the opening by 5 months. He'd spent 200 years calling that luck. Morning, he said to the photo in Korean, in Banmal she'd have swatted him for. Then he took the room's one chair, found a pen, and tore 3 sheets from a notebook whose first 4 pages were a dead man's attempt to learn stock terms. 3 columns. He'd planned campaigns on worse furniture. The first sheet he headed Money. Under it, the funeral account balance, the brokerage he'd opened by Thursday, the putts, boring ones, insurers and airlines, and anything that priced risk wrong when risk changed its mind. Below those, the hard goods list, tool steel, optics, a palette of pharmaceuticals with names he'd memorized the way other veterans memorize poems. Money wouldn't matter in a year, except that it would decide everything in the first 90 days, and the first 90 days decided everything else. The second sheet, claims. The Hongdae sinkhole, day 3, clean, impersonal, an appointment with a hole. The 11 first-week gates, listed in casualty order rather than value. He noticed the order and kept it. The Suraksan spring before the frost had cost 4 lives and made 1 fortune in the old timeline. Both outcomes were optional now. Then, Inwangsan, the full moon. A Hanseong appraiser had bragged in year 60 about the hooks and net used there. Daniel had laughed along once to belong at the bar, then spent 30 years wishing he'd heard the story sooner. He wrote the line slowly. Beneath it, in smaller letters, get there first this time. The third sheet he sat with for a while. The pen didn't move at first. He'd carried these 3 names longer than he'd carried anything else. He wrote them in the neat compressed Hangul he'd learned from requisition forms. The first belonged to the hero of the door, the nation's dawn, whose face he'd watched on broadcasts for 150 years. The second was the signature at the bottom of the tribute schedule. He didn't write the third in full, even alone, in a timeline where its owner hadn't done anything yet. He wrote the surname and stopped. 31 days. Money first, then claims, then names, and any hour left over went to a body that didn't know a spear from a mop handle yet. He picked up the phone, the dead man's phone, his phone, and typed the first name into a search bar, Joe Tai-seok. The screen gave him a gym mirror, a young man's flex, a caption about grind and destiny, a protein powder affiliate code in the bio. 43 followers. 31 days from now, the whole country would know that face better than their sons' faces. There'd be murals. There'd be a stamp, eventually. He'd licked it. Daniel looked at the selfie for a long moment, at the door sealer at 29 likes. At the beginning of the story, every child in the fortress lines could recite. And he took the pen and circled the name once, without any particular pressure, the way you mark a delivery address. Outside, 6 floors down, Seoul kept being early. Buses. A vegetable truck's loudspeaker. 31 days of the old world left, and he was the only man alive who'd already attended its funeral. He got up and went to buy a notebook with more pages.